Hello everybody and welcome to the DenziBlitz. I'm Mike from Electric City Sentai DenziCaster, and today we are continuing our look back at Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. We are on part 5. That means we are officially halfway through the 1992 installment into the Super Sentai series that, inspired the original season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And with this batch of episodes, this is the first full batch of episodes to include the Dragon Ranger. So we're taking a look at Barai, the original, I suppose, Green Ranger, for the purposes of what we know from Mighty Morphin. Barai was the character that would be adapted into one of the most popular Power Rangers characters of all time, Tommy the Green Ranger. So, of course, we are using the Shout Factory North American commercial release of Zyuranger. This was the first Super Sentai series mass released in the United States. We very much suggest, if you get the opportunity, go buy this one. It came out a couple of years ago, but it's still available on Amazon and various other places, Walmart, Target, what have you. Only runs about $40 these days, and very cool. The first of what are now 4 installments to have been released. Dai Ranger, Kaku Ranger, and O Ranger have all been released as well. We've got them all here, so wonder some of the stuff we'll be covering on future DenziBlitz series. But on disc 5, as I check the dust jacket here for the handy-dandy episode guide, we are looking at the Guardian Beasts Great Riot, Combine, Go Ryuzen, the Knuckleball of Infatuation, Hope Springs a Turtle, and The Park Where Demons Dwell. So this serves as the conclusion for what in the U.S. would have been the Green with Evil storyline in Mighty Morphin. Basically, it completes the introduction of Barai, the Dragon Ranger, which would have started on episode 17 with the 6th hero. So the Japanese series that introduces him, that little batch of episodes, realistically goes about 6 episodes long. I don't remember the exact number of episodes that got taken up by Green with Evil, but I know it was probably fairly close, either 4 or 5 or 6, somewhere in that neighborhood. We conclude that, and then we get a few episodes that serve, frankly, as a little bit of filler and a little bit of toy ad, as I've always said. Tokusatsu hero shows such as Zyuranger or Kamen Rider or Power Rangers are little more than, about 25 to 30 minute toy commercials that happen to have a story attached to them. Not unlike G.I. Joe, when you stop to think about it, and a lot of old 80s cartoon shows. But the big thing with this, to me, we get a whole lot of insight into the Dragon Ranger, and we see some things that make him distinctly different from Tommy, but would explain some of Tommy's interesting character quirks. So, of course, for those of you who are new to the Blitz, we go through, we don't do an in-depth review of each individual episode. It's more impressions and discussion and thoughts and things of this nature. So we're not going to go into the plot line of each episode. We may give you like a really brief synopsis, but we're not going to delve deep into them. Let's start with, I'm actually going to start with the later episodes and talk a little bit about those just to get the plot out of the way for those, because frankly they're somewhat inconsequential to the disc. So the first 2 episodes, the Guardian Beasts Great Riot and Combine, Go Ryuzen, those are the last 2 parts of the initial introduction of Dragon Ranger. The Knuckleball of Infatuation, Hope Springs a Turtle, and The Park Where Demons Dwell are all very much Monster of the Week episodes. The Knuckleball of Infatuation kind of focuses on a child Dora monster called Dora Pixie, which is literally a child actor dressed up as a monster in a Super Sentai show. Hope Springs a Turtle is where Tot Pat and Bookback, aka Squat and Babu, decide they're going to go into business for themselves and create their own monster in the hopes of becoming two of Queen Bandora's top executives, as they refer to them here. I'm finding that to be a very curious translation, because for what is essentially a monster army of very thick fantasy motif, to use the term executive strikes me as a little odd. I'm just wondering if that's actually what was said, or if it was just a screwball translation choice. And the park where demons dwell focuses on a plot where a statue has been infested by a tarantula monster and is putting people to sleep. So all of these different episodes are very much Monster of the Week episodes, but they do inform us a little bit as to the Dragon Ranger. And that's where we're going to spend the rest of our episode, is talking about the Dragon Ranger. Barai is a very different character than Tommy Oliver from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Barai, as we've talked about already, is the older brother of Geki. Geki never knew he had a brother because he was adopted at a very young age by his tribe's royal family. Barai sort of considers himself a prince by association, either because Geki is a prince or because his father tried to take over the throne, one or the other. In these episodes, one, he gets his own, and this is the Great Riot, he gets his own guardian beast, Dragon Caesar, aka the Dragon Zord. And we hear in the show a higher-pitched version of a very familiar tune, somewhat a higher-pitched version of that. Although we do, well, you don't hear that one, but you do hear this one. So we get versions of all of those. The music was the same in both shows. One interesting thing, Zusoken is what the Dragon Dagger, as we call it here in the States, is referred to as. It's his legendary weapon, which he uses to call his guardian beast, Dragon Caesar. Dragon Caesar, watching this again, because it really didn't change, Dragon Caesar is basically Mechagodzilla with a really cool paint job. He has a not dissimilar roar and pose to Godzilla. He has the tail. He has the finger missiles, which are straight out of the Mechagodzilla playbook. So that's very much the vibe you get off of him. He even has a Godzilla-like entrance where he comes walking out of the bay amidst bubbling torrents of water. And the first time he appears, he starts destroying the city. So, yeah, it's Mechagodzilla. But Burai gets his legendary weapon, Zusoken, which I found very interesting that they never refer to it as a dagger at any point in time. It's just Zusoken, and it is what it is. And they tell you it's a flute, and they tell you it's a weapon, but they don't tell you what kind of weapon. I guess you're just supposed to infer that it's a short, it's a dagger of some sort. The reason I find it curious is because there's actually a point where he clutches, like this, what should be the blade of the weapon. So, who knows? We also see him effectively reform. We see the resurrection of the Guardian Beasts. In what is frankly a fairly paper-thin explanation from a storyline standpoint, the idea is that when they fell into the magma, it was basically the Guardian Beasts luring our villains into a false sense of security because magma actually heals them. It doesn't kill them. So, sort of almost like the end of Superman 2, where he stands in the booth that's supposed to take his powers, when in reality it will protect him and steal all the other Kryptonians' powers, the Phantom Zone villains. So it feels kind of, to be honest, that contrived. So, very strange. But, that notwithstanding, Daizujin Returns is going to finish off uh, Dragon Caesar, but the only way it can finish off Dragon Caesar is if Burai is dead. Daizujin orders Geki to kill his own brother. Geki refuses, turns his back when Burai gets up to strike down his brother and grabs what we would have called the Dark Sword. In this show, Helfried takes that to strike down his brother. He can't. He realizes it's wrong, falls to his knees when his brother basically reads him the riot act and tells him, no, this is not what you're supposed to be. And Helfried dissolves in Burai's hand, whereas that's a very different take on the character. The character himself is intrinsically a fairly noble character, because in Mighty Morphin, Tommy Oliver was simply under a spell. The sword was the personification, the totem of that spell. And when Jason destroyed the sword, that's what frees Tommy from Rita's spell. In this show, it is a decision by Burai himself. It is his conscience kicking back in that destroys the sword. It's when he himself chooses to be good, the sword no longer has power and it just dissolves. At least that's the way I took it watching the episode. And at that point, Daizujin lets us know that Dragon Caesar will be charged to be the rightful-hearted guardian beast of the Dragon Ranger, and that there is now a new combination at their disposal. What we called in Power Rangers the Dragon Zord in battle mode. But in this show, it's Go-Ryuzin. G-O-U-R-Y-U-Z-I-N. Go-Ryuzin. So pretty cool new toy. We get to see it a lot over the course of this batch of 5 episodes. But here's what strikes me as very interesting about Dragon Ranger, other than the fact that he has an obviously cooler name than just the Green Ranger, the Dragon Ranger. Sounds pretty darn cool. In Power Rangers, we have the idea that Rita Repulsa completely controls the Green Ranger powers to some level. She has a candle that will sap the Green Ranger's powers over time. And she either finds the candle, makes the candle, what have you, but she is in possession of the candle after Tommy spends some time as part of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as their 6th hero. In this show, the candle exists from Jump Street. It's there from the word go. We meet in these episodes when Burai tries to overthrow Queen Bandora during the celebration where they are celebrating the death of Daizujin. He gets basically thrown back to Earth. We see exactly how powerful Rita is. I thought this was, Bandora. I do that, I think, once an episode. We see exactly how powerful she is in this show with what I think is a brilliant piece of storytelling. We've seen Burai overpower the entire Power Rangers team, or in this case, the entire Zyuranger team. We see him overpower all of them, single-handed, by himself. This one warrior can take out their entire group. And yet, Bandora disposes of Burai with ease. And in very short order. Hurls him to Earth from the moon, basically. So it really gives you some insight into exactly how big and how bad Queen Bandora really is in the confines of this show. Far from the incompetent witch that gets fired by Lord Zed in Power Rangers. So, very interesting way to establish her power. Once he lands on Earth, Burai meets Clotho, this white-gowned, white-faced, extremely pale-skinned little girl who is apparently in charge of time. And she says, in the series, effectively, that no one can no one can change the time she has set aside for them. The implication is that she decides, or she guards, one or the other, the lifespans of humanity. And there is in this room, we are told, a place where time does not pass. There is a green candle. She warns Barai, as long as you are in this room, then you will not age. But if you leave the room, you have 30 hours to live. Period. So there's a countdown clock on Barai within 5 episodes of his arrival. Very different story. And it's not that he loses his powers, it's that he dies if that candle burns out. I know that eventually will happen in the show because, one, the Green Ranger wound up without his powers in Mighty Morphin, but two, as we've said before, the Japanese are not the greatest in the world at spoiler-free episode titles, and given that there is an episode in the series called Barai Dies, I'm going to assume the worst. But it creates a very different character to know that is there, that Damocles sword hangs above his head from the moment he first appears in the series. So that's very different, and it makes him very tragic because his brother's out there, and he has just made amends with him, but he can't spend time with him. So that's a very tragic notion when you stop to think about it. It does give us reason, because realistically, the only times we see him show up, he can use Zusoken, his legendary weapon, to enter and leave this room where time does not pass, Clothos' dimension, so to speak, at will. Literally, he just teleports there or teleports out. And his primary role in these episodes after the conclusion of his introduction storyline is basically to show up, summon Dragon Caesar, help save the day during the mecha fight, and leave. This, I'm sure, raised some interesting challenges when they were doing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but it does give you an idea for why Tommy lost his communicator so dang much. Tommy Oliver was notorious in Power Rangers Season 1 for losing his communicator, or misplacing it, or sticking it in a bag because he had an audition for something, or whatever. Just not wearing it when he should have been. And so while the Rangers are fighting the monster and human sides, there is no Green Ranger, but he luckily finds his communicator just in time to call for the big robots. Now you know why. So I find that very interesting, and I find Barai to be a very interesting character. He probably, to me right now, is the most interesting character in the show, which I greatly appreciate. One other thing to note out of this batch of episodes is that you can tell a different standard and practices of the day when we first see Dragon Caesar and it starts wrecking the town. The wreckage that we see is for a tokusatsu show of no really huge budget, is significant. We see people hurt. We see people buried under the rubble. We see kids who are bleeding and injured and being carried on stretchers. That's one thing this show has not shied away from, is letting there be physical stakes to innocent people. That no, the populace can be hurt, they can be killed. If the Zyurangers fail, this is what happens. And of course, we continue the trend of the previous episodes. Bandora hates kids, just apparently all of them. And so kids are a recurring theme as a primary target. Now, I have not seen this show all the way through before, so at a certain point, I suspect it's going to be Disc 6. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Yeah, I don't think I've seen too much past Disc 6 of this before. I was watching the show at one point when it was fan-subbed, and then stopped when I found out the commercial release was coming. So, yeah, it should prove interesting to see where this goes. And why in the world does she hate kids so dang much? Because they harp on it too much and they show it too much for it to not be a plot point of some sort. At least something more than, ooh, I'm the bad guy, I'm going to torture kids because it's a kid show and I'll get the cheap heat off of it. So, we'll see. So far, not my favorite disc out of the batch. Still that title probably belongs to disc 4 where the Dragon Ranger storyline starts. But a good disc with some pretty cool filler episodes. They really are filler just to establish some more stuff. And we get another focus episode for Boy and things like that. But I'm really looking forward to continuing this. We're in the home stretch, so to speak, or at least we're over the hump. We're halfway through the series now officially. So we've got 5 more installments, 5 more discs to go through. Very much look forward to sharing them with you. Please remember to check us out over on Facebook. It's facebook.com/DenziCaster. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. That's one of those other things that pops up after the flip. If you want to help support the ECS network, not just DenziBlitz and DenziCaster, but all the great shows here on the network, please visit our Cafe Press store. It's cafepress.com/ECS network. You can find all kinds of great shirts there and other great merchandise that you may want to pick up. And of course, as I've said 100 times already, it'll feel like, nobody is paying us to do this. Shout Factory put these shows out. They've done a tremendous job with it. And as I always remind you, if you are a Tokusatsu fan, or even if you are a Power Rangers fan, you've never seen the show that spawned Power Rangers, and you're curious, please check it out. Please buy it. Tokusatsu shows do not show up commercially on American shores. It frankly just doesn't happen. So when something like this does happen, if we don't support it, we don't get more of it. We are very blessed at the moment that we have 4 seasons, but that's 4 out of 40. So let's give them reasons to get the rest of that stuff out over here too. I do have this dream of one day having a shelf that's just all the Super Sentai shows lined up in a row on DVD. I think that'd be pretty cool. So do check this out. You can find it where, in your various DVD specialty shops online. Amazon, Target, Walmart, and many others do carry this particular series. So definitely check it out. Until next time, folks, for the DenziBlitz, I'm Mike, and we will see you next time as we keep rolling on through Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger on the Blitz. See you next time.